Hi. I so wish I were there.
One in Disney.
What?
That this one is in Tokyo. This is not the one in Disney. It cannot compare. Disney one in Florida, it's beautiful. This one, it was not
Yeah,
good.
I was gonna say the colors are a little muted on that, but I know exactly where, I knew it was from Disney.
Yeah. And I'm staying in the same room. Now, last year, remember in summer, I moved like so many times. I got the
Yeah.
record. Tomorrow we have a meeting at 9, right? A Zoom meeting.
Okay, hold on for one moment. I'm getting a delayed sound from the YouTube streaming. Yes. Yes, I'm trying to keep everybody in the same spot. That's only if you have any questions. So like, I didn't want to waste everybody's time because the information that I had. There we go. I think I figured it out. Are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, great. Can you hear me fine?
Perfect.
Okay, so I think I figured out what I did wrong. So the YouTube link, it's still playing in the background on my computer. And I don't know if anybody else could hear it. But I muted it on YouTube. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that it doesn't mute so that they can't hear. But it's affected, right?
I have no idea. I don't know idea what you want to do. So
Okay. But the meeting tomorrow is just like a Q&A if anybody had any questions.
So we have to, I'm sorry. So we have to go to school. It's just to clean the rooms. I mean, remove everything from the walls and all that.
Like just prepare your classroom for summer like you would normally do.
I know. I have to take out those flags.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of work.
Okay, I don't recognize this person. I'm going to admit them, but I don't know who it is.
That's Miss Ferguson.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you all?
Fine.
I'm good.
I'm gonna rename you.
Okay. Do you do that or oh, good. Okay. I was gonna say I don't know how to do all that. I'm like, I know how to get on here.
Yeah. So just real quick before we actually start our meeting, I understand that you're concerned, but we can't really discuss it because I haven't received any word from the district. And they've pretty much told us, work remotely, tell your staff to stay out of the building. We will be in touch with you to give you direction on, how to close out the year. So they haven't even started talking about what's in the case that we may not have school at the beginning of the school year or what to do. So we as a school, we can't make unilateral decisions because it has to look consistent across the district. And so the verbiage I've received from the district is as far as like the end of the school year stuff, we can't make a move until we hear something from the district. And as far as starting back, there has been no word, no communication whatsoever.
I guess my only concern, not only, but my concern was that is not that we wouldn't start back in school, but if we have an issue with, say, we get this again, come,
There's been no communication. No. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, honestly, I'm good. I'm glad I'm not recording this just yet. Honestly, When you received information from the district, I literally, as a principal, received it 10 to 15 minutes before it was pushed out to families. And sometimes emails were pushed out to families because I have a child that's in Fayette County as well.
Right.
I got it as a parent before I got it as a principal. So
Right.
honestly, my message, like last SBDM meeting, my message, you can ask the teachers, like it's been show some grace because we're trying to build this plane and fly it at the same time. And
Right.
so that's why it was like the communication, like I know some parents who work in the district at other schools, some of those principals had already communicated what was said in our secondary meeting without including the timeframes in which was discussed collectively. So
Right.
when that information came out saying, okay, you're only going to give 2 assignments for the week, that's it.
Right.
And we all agreed that we were going to share that with our staff and start the following week.
Mhm.
Well, I started getting emails from parents saying, well, I work at this school and I work at that school, and you all are not doing what other people are doing. And I'm like, I got the information, I shared it with my staff. We decided to put it in play. And, you know, if there's a concern, do the very best you can, because as I told my staff, I'm trying to juggle being a principal of a school and a mom to a girl in, you know, second grade who
Right.
had a substantial workload, what I felt for a second grader.
Right. Oh,
So,
I've heard that around, that a lot of the elementary schools were giving, they probably still are, loads and loads of work to these kids, and you just can't do that.
right. Like, honestly, this past week has been wonderful because we've had like 3 assignments and that was it.
Right.
And she got it all done in one day. And I was like, you're finished already? She was like, yeah, that was easy. And I was like, okay, next day it was like, okay, we had 1 assignment in math and 1 assignment in reading. And I was like, where's the science? Where's this? Where's that? Oh, we're done? She was like, yeah, we're done.
Right.
So we're all learning
Mhm.
what to do.
Right. I guess my thing is more of what teachers are going to be doing other than and I'm going to say this because I've said this to Senora Arteaga, not Arteaga. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Santiago, many times, that how thankful I am for her, because she's really the only teacher that is Zooming with my kid. You know, this is me just personally talking about my experience, right? Where everything else is just being kind of shot through email. Here, this is what or, you know, their websites. Here, this is what you're going to do today. This is what you're going to do today. Really, the only contact that my child has had with the middle school teacher is Senora Santiago, which is I'm very thankful. I guess that's where I'm kind of concerned. Like, how is that going to be different moving forward if this happens again? You know, just being prepared, everyone having like, okay, this is our schedule. And one thing that I wanted to suggest is that if the district says, okay, we only have 2 hours, middle school kids should only have 2 hours, which I think that's what they kind of recommended this time. If they follow through with that, the next time, if it does happen again, I was going to recommend that we do the schedule like the high school does with the A and B days, so that the kids will have, okay, they have their math, English, science one day, or however, you know, teachers feel comfortable doing it according to their schedule. And then these kids have, on Tuesday, you have this. That way you have more time, because if we were to divide those 2 hours by all the classes they have in one day, I mean, you don't get that much time to do anything. You're spending, you have 8 classes. You know, these kids can't do all that in 2 hours. And I know that that's not what they're saying. They don't expect them to finish in 2 hours, but there's no way that the kids could get like a Zoom meeting or any type of instruction that would allow them to finish their day in even 4 hours, you know, with instruction from from teachers. So that's the only thing.
Any reason to try to set like any hardcore plans right now, because KDE just sent out like today that they're not gonna try to decide anything till later this summer till we see how it's going. So I mean, we could try to make plans, but they could totally be changed, and then we're stuck with a totally different scenario. So I think like until we have a better grasp of what KDE even wants us to do, and they set plans, then I think, it's smart to move forward with a structure plan. But until we know what's going to happen, it's hard to sit down and say, well, we're going to do this or we're going to do that kind of thing.
Right. I was thinking like a plan, just have a plan. Not that you're gonna have to stick with it 100% because that's what we decided today, but just so that you can be prepared and then you can shift things around as needed, when or if the time comes. That's all.
Yeah, that's some of the things that we'll look into for the summer, but now, like, we don't have a plan, and I take to heart what my district says, like, hey, don't do anything, wait till you hear from us. We're coming up with a centralized plan or a communication that needs to go out to so that we can look consistent throughout the district.
Right.
And that's what I was waiting on. And so, like I said, we were supposed to have a meeting last week. It was tentative 3 different times, and each time it was canceled. So I just received an email stating that there's a principal meeting tomorrow, or is it tomorrow or Friday? I think it's tomorrow at 3:00. And it says, be patient and I'll be in touch to let you know whether or not if it changes. So that's where we are.
Right. Everyone, it kind of trickles down.
Right. And I hear you, because I've gotten some great feedback from parents, like, hey, I really appreciate everything that you all are doing. But this is just a suggestion, Ms. Kirby. Why not have like a checklist or a newsletter at the beginning of the week saying that in Ms. Santiago's class, here are the assignments that you need to be working on. And in Mr. Fedriani's class, this is what you need to be working on for this week. And it is from one centralized location. That way it helps the parents to be able to do the checklist. And then also with Spanish immersion, to have it in English, parents can actually help, because not all parents have any idea what it's saying. So, I took that feedback, I shared it. Mr. McMain shared that with the Spanish immersion. And as far as I know, it has been implemented. So like I said, we're taking the feedback and we're trying to implement it, but that's where we are.
Right. Okay.
Barbara, are there any particular issues that were mentioned, or when I got your email, I thought at least at our office, we're trying to not berate people with emails or updates and things like that, but just one Zoom meeting where everybody is invited, and just seeing you, Miss Kirby, may, it also brings some connection, physical, virtual presence. So if the problem is like that, parents feel a little bit lost and disconnected from the school, maybe that will solve it. I haven't heard any particular, like, very specific issues, other than, we do what we can. Each one of us copes whichever way we can with whatever is due for the school.
Now, I think you kind of touched a little about the issue with the connection, right? So student-teacher connection, parent-teacher connection during this time, with possibly a video, just knowing the fact that the teacher is physically present for the child also will, like, through video, whether it's recorded or in person through Zoom, right, would help the child immensely, I think, at this point. Just the social connection, even though they're not able to speak to the teacher is still, they feel like the teacher is physically teaching them.
Okay, and I'll take that feedback. Like I said, everything that I get, I take it back to the leadership team. I take it back and share it with the staff. And, I will take that into consideration. Like, in the event of preparing for this while we're in the summer months. Like, we're going to have X number of times where you have like a pre-recorded video or something teaching. I know, you know, but it's a still work in progress.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So the time is now 5:06. We did have a person that wanted to, I don't know, he hasn't come in yet. But anyway, the time is 5:06 and we'll go ahead and get our SBDM meeting started. We may have someone joining us who is an aspiring leader who wanted to sit in on a SBDM meeting. We are live on YouTube at this time. Hopefully that link is working because it is going right now. But we will look at our agenda. Today we do have a portion where I will have to turn off the YouTube live connection and go into closed session because we're talking about budget and staffing. But we'll put that towards the end of the agenda so that people watching can participate in majority of our meeting today. But the first thing on our agenda is to approve our minutes from our April 15th meeting. We do not have any old business today. Our new business, we will need to look at our revised ESS summer school plan and approve that. Looking at the master schedule, Title I carry forward budget for 2021 school year. And then we will go, I think if everyone is okay, we can go to other business. Well, we don't have any other business or public comment. I know we kind of talked off the record about concerns with NTI and moving forward, but we'll save budget and staffing at the end so that I can then turn off the YouTube because we'll go into closed session. And that's just to discuss the hiring and of positions and et cetera, okay? Everybody okay with that? All right, so the first thing, we will look at our minutes from our last meeting. It was a virtual meeting. It was called to order at 5 o'clock. We reviewed the minutes from March 11th meeting. It was approved by Ms. Albright and seconded by Ms. Labro. Yes, got it right again. Okay, and new business, we talked about the NTI plan for our school. I presented and read the NTI plan for COVID-19. March 16th through the 19th was no school. It was a flex days for teachers to prepare for NTI. March 23rd through the 27th were deemed as snow days. And then March 30th through April 3rd was spring break. And then April 6th to be determined, which we now know is to the end of the school year on May 28th, will be the NTI days. Our NTI schedule for April 6th through May 27th is Monday, 9 a.m. Teachers should post their assignments for the entire week. There was an addendum made to that where there were only 2 assignments per week, and then teachers would be available for support during the week with those assignments. Instruction should be standard-based, rigorous, and focused on major concepts for each course. No state assessment this year. The NTI grading plan was presented that 4th quarter. The plan would be to include A, B, C, or incompletes, no Ds or Fs for the 4th quarter. Incomplete grades, teachers will mark any missing assignments with an M so that a message would be generated through Infinite Campus to notify the parents that students had not completed the work. Students will have 5 days after the last day of NTI days to make up the assignments. And if students do not return to school before the end of the school year, then the grades for quarter 1, 2, and 3 will be used to determine the students' overall grade for the year and promotion to the next grade level. We have already begun credit recovery, and students will be utilizing Odyssey-ware to recover course failures for quarter 1, 2, and 3. And Ms. Kirby, Andrea Kirby, Ms. Albright, and Ms. Brewer are the staff that are heading that up. And there were some questions about what if students do not have access to internet and would they be able to participate in the credit recovery? We were working on getting a list together and getting an alternate plan for those students. We also, just a little update, Manny did have, our superintendent, Calk, did have a press conference where hotspots were provided to families in need. And since we are a one-to-one Chromebook, those families had access to the Chromebook and provided hotspots, and they've had those for, I think they started distributing them last week or a week and a half ago. And so that is another form of a way to support those families. We then went into talking about Section 6 approval of items. So there were various items from the library funds to purchase items for the library, t-shirts for the culture and climate building exercises for the beginning of the school year, signage for the hallways, LCD projectors, Chromebook chargers, and PE and sports equipment. Other business, we talked about the Title I checklist review and school-wide program summary report. Angela Miller presented that to us. And there was also a parent learning compact checklist that we approved. The school-wide program summary. Ms. Miller explained that the summary outlines the goals of our Title I program and shows our usage of Title I funds. And we did not have public comments, and the meeting was adjourned at 6:10 p.m. Any questions, any concerns, anything that you feel like was omitted or not recorded? Okay, could I have a motion to approve the minutes from April 15th?
A motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I have a second? Thank you. All right, so since we do not have any old business, we move on to our new business. The first item is our ESS summer school. So since we are in a home and healthy and safe mode, our ESS summer school has changed a bit. The district has afforded us license with Odyssey Wear that was discussed our last meeting. We have already started utilizing that for recovery for quarters 1, 2, 3. And so we will continue to utilize that through our summer school model. It will not be a face-to-face, it will be online. Mr. Sharp is the coordinator. Mr. Miranda will be the social studies instructor, Ms. Willis, language arts, Ms. Beckham, math, Ms. Williams, science, and Mr. Mesher will be special ed to provide those supports as needed. Let's see. Our program will not include transportation because it's online. We will monitor student progress for ESS through participation of students and how they perform on the Odyssey Wear assigned sessions. And let's see, the outline of the budget. We have certified staff payment. We have the certified benefits, and Odyssey Wear is not a ticket item because it was provided through the district. It's about the summer school ESS. Odyssey Wear.
Ms. Kirby, how does this program differ from what it would be if we were not on stay home and healthy situation?
The original plan was that we would have content area teachers providing services. And so they would be teaching the core content for each one of those classes, individualized for those students on which quarter that they did not pass or accomplish. So we had already decided that we were going to do that model, but now it's more like that teacher will be monitoring via online. And Shelley has actually been working with the kids on the course recovery. And I get emails from her several times a day where kids are doing phenomenal on Odyssey Ware. So Shelley, would you like to talk a little bit about how Odyssey Ware is set up and how the kids have been performing on that?
Sure. So I'm not sure, do you know if we're going to be letting them take the pre-test as part of summer school like they could this time? Or will that be not an option?
I think that is not going to be an option for summer school.
Yeah. So some of them have this time taken that pre-test and passed it, which meant they didn't actually have to do the units. A lot of the sixth graders did that, but then if they didn't pass it, it takes them on into the units. Some of them, the pre-test, the one thing that was good about the pre-test, which we won't have this if we don't use it, was that if they did well on certain areas, they didn't make them do those lessons. And they only made them do the lessons on the things that they showed they didn't know how to do. None of them have a lot of lessons. They might have like 20 sections per unit, and some of those sections are the quizzes and the test or like a review. So there may be like 4 or 5 topics in each unit. They seem to, the ones that I've talked to on the phone while they're working through it, seem to really like it. That it's pretty, once they figure it out, we had a lot of problems at the beginning with, they would do something that would lock them out. And the biggest problem I foresee with it in the summertime is with the teachers doing it all online. Like I'm still answering questions at 11 o'clock at night from kids that are doing the credit recovery. Because, you know, they're doing it when they can. And so if they get kicked out and I have to unlock it for them to start, you know, they're sending me emails or texts or whatever saying, hey, can you fix this for me? So that might be an issue with them in the summertime, where they may have to just be a little more flexible with checking it every, you know, once in a while. I made up a Google Voice number that I could give everybody so they don't actually have my number, but it comes straight to my phone. And so they're texting me and I can answer back immediately and help them out. That might be one thing I might suggest to them. But I think the kids have really liked it. So, and it's pretty easy from what the teachers have to do as well. So I think it'll be a good thing. Sorry, that was kind of rambling.
No, that's fine. No, because like I said, I get the emails from you and kids are like passing the pretest. So that means that it's aligned to the standards. So that means that these kids are mastering the standards, but they just weren't doing the daily work during the school year. So they're gaining knowledge. It's just they weren't doing all of the assignments that were assigned to them throughout the course during that quarter. So, I mean, that's some good feedback that they are getting some content along with this.
Were there any ancillary opportunities that the kids got if it had been on a face-to-face? I don't know if we provided, did we provide snacks or some prizes or, you know, that sort of incentives that they would get if it had been face-to-face?
With the credit recovery we're doing now? Is that what you're asking about with what we're doing right now?
Sorry, I forget. I mute myself and I forget. I mute myself. Sorry about that. Yeah. So will they not be getting something that they would have gotten? And, you know, are we thinking about, not that it will impact necessarily their performance, but, you know, that they won't get they won't get a service that maybe the other kid, or an opportunity that other kids would have gotten. And
Yeah,
there's nothing we can do. We can't change the pandemic, but at least to have it in mind.
I can't
Well-
tell you how many of them were intrinsically motivated by the not wanting to have to take an elective class in the fall to do this in the fall. So, like I talked to somebody last week and they're like, oh, we might not just, maybe we won't do it or whatever. And I'm like, well, then they'll be in an elective class in the fall doing this exact same thing. And they're like, oh, well, maybe we better start working on it. So that was the big motivator for a lot of them.
So are there any other questions about the ESS amendment to the summer school proposal?
The only question that I have is the money that would have been spent also, money that would have been spent for transportation, is that money that will still be given to us or for the program?
Well, remember the last proposal, we just elected not to do transportation because we did
right.
transportation last year and we had 2 kids.
That's right.
And then it got to the point where no one was riding the bus. So that's why we elected not to provide transportation.
Okay.
And so the money is ours. It's like you get a pot of money and you decide where do you want to put it? What smaller buckets do you want to put it in?
Okay. I'm sorry. I forgot that we had decided that because of that.
Yeah.
The program that you were talking about, is that just for the summer? The program that
Well, no, ma'am, it is not. If SBDM approves of a later down the agenda item.
Okay. All right.
Yes. So this is just, like I said, this is just an addendum to our previous ESS summer school proposal because of the COVID-19, because we cannot see the kids face to face. So the only difference is that monies that were in the snack item have been shifted over to provide more staffing to support each content area. So can we get someone to approve, make a motion to approve?
I approve.
Okay, second it?
Second.
Thank you. All right. The next item on
We need a
our,
buzzer. Can we have a buzzer?
Yeah.
the next line item is our master schedule, and I believe Kathleen emailed that to everyone. Do you want me to go through this step by step or just give you an overview?
Just an overview.
Okay, great. So if you look at the Bell schedule, it starts out with Spanish immersion. And this, and I can just speak on all of this. So Spanish immersion and our traditional program will be on the same Bell schedule. There is a stagger in the Bell schedule for each grade level. The major difference that you will see about this Bell schedule is to take into account the feedback that I received from staff with their concerns on how to appropriately meet in a PLC when you only have one person or maybe 2 people that are teaching the same content area. So what we have done is we have allotted for a team planning and then a content area planning. So for example, I'll use this example for math. So Miss Sear will be able to meet with her team for a planning, which is about 45 minutes. Then at another time during the day, she, along with the 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade math teachers will all be together to form a PLC. So that
Wow.
the discussions can happen that are more fluid and they can help each other because the students that Sear has, she can talk to Ms. Robinson because she's going to have those students in 7th grade. Does that make sense? And then the conversations are more fluid. They're understanding like, oh, this group of kids understand this concept. They don't understand that concept. So therefore that professional learning community, the conversations will be more rich as opposed to what we have done in the past by trying to group together content areas like we had science and math together. Well, a lot of the conversations, the science teachers would sit there and say, well, I can't contribute to this conversation because it's not the same content. And then we had social studies and language arts teachers together. Well, yeah, they have some of the same reading standards in common, but realistically, when it came down to it, the language arts teachers were talking to each other, the math teachers were talking to each other, and then that other science person or social studies persons were just sitting there. We believe that this will help with developing that continuum of growth for our students, because then you have the educators who have worked with these kids prior who can then add to that conversation and say, well, all of these kids get polynomials and they need more work with fractions. Hey, you like my math references, guys? Worked on those. So, you know, with having that, then the teachers in the next year know, or better yet, they're working with the kids and they're realizing, wait a minute, these kids are having difficulties with, you know, factoring. Well, then the conversation can be more rich because then the teacher teaching the same content area at 6th grade level or 7th grade level can then say, you know what, we need to beef that up so that when these kids get to the next level, they're able to grow. That is why we have put this in place. And we still have a 7th period day. And then with the incorporation from the district, we are going to have the social emotional learning. And this plan actually allots for advisory time to happen primarily after lunch. It's beautiful. And for the teachers, you all should be smiling because we find that kids get a little hyperactive after lunch, and it's kind of hard to bring them back in to regroup and focus in. So I have noticed that like when I go through walkthroughs, I've got teachers who are doing brain breaks and they're doing activities with them, which align with the social emotional. But now that we're gonna have this curriculum that was adopted by the district and we approved it as a council in January, February of this year, now there is time allotted to provide that advisory. So that gives kids like in the middle of the day, a little oomph to re-engage their brain to go into the latter part of the day. So we're hoping that this will help with behaviors as well as providing that support for students and they have someone to make connections with. So that in a nutshell is our master schedule for next year. Any questions?
Can you repeat again, when is it that period where kids have a chance to regroup?
It is 4th period. So for example, I'm looking at 6th grade SIP. The lunch, 3rd period, then 4th period, right after that, they'll have attached to their next content area class. When they get back from lunch, they'll have transition, they'll have advisory, and then go into instruction. 7th grade bell schedule, they have lunch and advisory with their 4th hour class. And the same thing with 8th grade. They'll have lunch with their 3rd hour class, transition, and then go to advisory. And then, so it's kind of like a reset in the middle of the day. And this is also a opportunity to have this advisory time because then we can go into those data notebooks, setting goals, looking at assessment as well as map data during that time period as well. You're muted, Ms. Santiago.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
That will be around 10 minutes for that, or what is the time allocated for that?
15 minutes.
15 minutes?
It's no more than 15 minutes.
Are you talking about the advisory?
Yes.
Okay. What is the intervention during the 8th grade lunch down on the bottom where it says social studies? And then
So
on
that is a possibility of having an intervention to support with Spanish language. So if students in the past who have had difficulties with Spanish language development during that time frame, that teacher would provide support in their Spanish language.
Is there a particular reason why the other grades, like 6th and 7th grade, don't have interventions in Spanish? Is that it's distributed through?
No,
the
that's just that's directly towards the teacher, not so much to the actual servicing of the grade levels. So it would be that 8th grade social studies teacher, and we haven't talked about, we're not talking about staffing, we're just talking about positions.
Gotcha. Yeah. So they would do interventions with any grade.
Correct.
So I'm guessing that during these planning periods where all the math is getting together and everyone for each subject you're getting together, like 7th, that's going to be a like band or
Yes,
alternate class.
that will be their elective times. Yes.
Okay. A long day for 6th graders.
Yes. I mean, pretty much that's their schedule. I mean, honestly, it's actually a little bit better for them because if you look at 6th grade, you have first period, there are a couple of teachers that are on plan. So then they have another elective block through the day.
Okay.
And then they'll have their last elective at the end of the day.
Okay.
As opposed to what we've done for the past 3 years, and actually prior to me becoming the principal, 6th grade's plan was at the end of the day. So 6th grade had to go all day long, and they did not go to electives until 6th and 7th period.
You're right. They did do that.
I should know this, but what are the Panda teams and the Kodiak teams? Is that 7th?
So that is, you have 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. So their names, Kodiak is, we have Mr. Miranda joining us. So Kodiak team is 7th grade, Panda team, it was 6th grade, and they are going to rotate with, hello, Mr. Miranda, welcome. They're going to rotate with their students because last school year or this school year, we had a large 6th grade traditional class, and we had a team and a half. Well, that group is now moving to 7th grade. Our incoming 6th grade traditional group is a bit smaller, but our Spanish immersion 6th grade group has expanded. But so it kind of balanced out. So that's where the names come from. Sorry.
A bit smaller, from 210 students to 145. Wow, that was the large group.
Mm-hmm.
Very large.
Yes. So those are the names. I'm sorry, I meant to change that to 6th grade, 7th grade so that you all could see that. We're trying to embrace the team names to create the families. And I will say that they jumped on board and went wholeheartedly into it. So I got a t-shirt and everything. So are there any other questions about the master schedule? Okay, all in agreement with,
Sorry.
I'm sorry?
I just have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Has lunch always been 20 minutes?
Yes, it has.
Wow, okay. That's all. Sorry.
What?
We need a motion to approve.
Are we all in favor of the master schedule? Raise your hand if you're in favor. Miranda, you don't vote. You're a visitor. Okay.
Sorry.
Ms. Ferguson, do you have some reservations?
Can you see me?
Okay. All right.
Maybe.
So all in favor. Okay, good deal. Thank you. All right, so that brings us to our next line item, which is our Title I end of year spending plan. And so every year we have an allotment of funds from Title I, and we spend a majority of it throughout the school year. Well, at the end of the year, we are told by Title I office downtown what we have remaining, and that amount of money needs to be spent by September 30th of the next school year. And does everybody have this document? Okay. There's $19,137 remaining that needs to be spent by September. The first line item goes in conjunction with an extension from our summer school. We're seeing great success with our course recovery that we are doing right now. And then we're going to continue to use Odysseyware through our summer school ESS. And so what we want to do is to encourage students that if they are not performing and passing a quarter, that they are identified and then they are placed in a course recovery through their elective during the school year. And so the Odysseyware license, each seat is consecutive. So therefore we only need 10 licenses. So that means, so if a student is on Odysseyware, as soon as they get up and they log out, another student can log on. So we only need 10 licenses. And so that line item on there will cost $4,350, which gives us a remaining balance of $14,787. For next year, there was a poll given to our language arts and reading teachers to get a consensus of which program or plan that they would prefer. In the past, through the Striving Readers Grant, we had iReady. There was mixed messages about that because 2 years prior, there were staff members who loved it. This past year, we had new staff come on board and they weren't so much in love with it. But the white papers for Reading Plus, it is a, what is it called? And I forgot what it's called. It is a research-based program that has been cleared by the clearinghouse to be effective for Tier 2 instruction. So this is the program in which our language arts department has decided upon. To get a site license was actually cheaper than to purchase license because the seats are not consecutive. So that line item is $13,850, which gives us a remaining balance of $937. And I want to earmark that remaining balance for the purchase of Chromebooks and or chargers as need be. And I'm going to preface this by saying that this past year we were one-to-one. Students were told that they could take home their Chromebooks. The district has encouraged us to allow students to keep their Chromebooks through the summer. And there are
Even the eighth
no,
graders? Even the eighth graders?
even the eighth graders, because we will have summer bridges and ES and students working through Odysseyware as well as with summer bridges programs. So we will not have the summer slide.
So how will we, well, never mind. Sure, there's a plan for getting them back.
We will
Right.
discuss that later, Ms. Albright. So,
Okay.
and it has been shared with us through the district that the funds that were available to purchase Chromebooks to make sure that middle schools were one-to-one, more than likely will not be there next year. So I want to go ahead and earmark some funds to be able to purchase a few, because literally that's what $937 comes out to be, a few Chromebooks, because we've had some Chromebooks to not make it through NTI because of whatever reason, wear and tear, just not working. And so that's where we are. And I'll just leave it at that.
So it's encouragement, just a suggestion, and you can say, okay, for those of you that aren't doing summer school, return your Chromebooks, please, with your chargers, or is it like everyone keeps it no matter what? You just keep it with you?
I will have more information after my principal meeting tomorrow at 3:00. But honestly, I think I'm not going to share what I think. I agree with you. I think that's a great suggestion that if students are not participating in summer bridges or summer school, that they return the Chromebook. Now, 6th and 7th graders presently in the building, they will have those Chromebooks next school year. But our incoming 6th graders, I'm concerned. So
Me too.
we are hopeful that there will be a plan that will come about very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the list that you just mentioned, with what you're wanting to do with the remaining money, that's, I know that our other meeting, we had discussed some other things that we had already agreed upon, which is the LLI, the level literacy intervention, the 1-year extension of the Smart 4 software, and then plan book. Those are all other things that we've already budgeted for. Is that correct?
Correct, and that comes from Section 6. This comes from Title I. And I believe, like in our last meeting, Maria had asked, well, are we not going to utilize Section 6 funds for, is there a reading program or some sort of program? And I said we had more funds. This is where it comes from, because we have to spend this before September 30th. So are there any other questions? No? Could I get a motion to, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry with all my questions, I'm sorry. The Odysseyware licensing, that's just for intervention, it's not to replace like IXL or any other programs, it's just for intervention.
No, that is for intervention for students who have not passed a quarter.
Okay.
For example, like what we're doing right now online, from home, we will actually, the students who, so for example, let's say Robin Kirby doesn't pass math for first quarter. Well, then second quarter, one of my elective classes, I will be in course recovery, completing Odysseyware for math.
And that will be all in English, right?
That is a good question. I'll look into that. because I do believe it does come in another, I do think that Odyssey Word does come in Spanish as well. But I will check into that.
I thought that it doesn't recover. Well, maybe it's just but I thought recovery, at least in the summer, we were doing it all in English, not just because of availability, but also to eliminate language barrier.
Yes, but I'm saying like course recovery, like she's asking like if I'm in Miss Santiago's class, 6th grade math, it's in Spanish. So I, to recover that course, I'm gonna have to take it in the Spanish form of it because it's during the school year. So I will check into that to see, but I remember going through the informational webinar about it, and I believe it does come in other languages. I know it goes down as low as 3rd grade through 12th grade.
I may be going down the weeds, but so the program that we currently use for math, and I can't believe I'm from Easy Bridge, that doesn't have a recovery. How is Odyssey Ware different than Easy Bridge for Pearson's Easy Bridge for recovery, like for math, for example?
Oh, because it's aligned to the Kentucky standards for each course, and it's a web-based course recovery program. And so basically it has a pre-assessment, and then I think it creates your lessons for you based on what you did not grasp with the standards.
Okay.
And then the teacher can assign certain lessons to you. So that's how it's different.
So that will substitute Success Maker?
Success Maker is for tier 3, tier 2.
Okay,
This is course recovery.
course. Okay, thank you.
So let's just say that Miss Kirby sleeps in Miss Santiago's class, and I don't do my homework, and I don't stay after school for help because I don't want to. Well, next quarter, I'm going to sit in a course recovery in elective class instead of doing what I want to do. You got to do before you do what you want to do.
Plus taking the next class with me also, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes, you will continue to move on I will continue to move on with Miss Santiago's class, but during my electives, I will be in the course recovery.
Oh.
Recover that grade that I had failing for the previous quarter.
That's in case they just have to recover one class.
Correct.
Because it's more than one class and it's a problem.
Yes. And that's when there should be more discussion going on. And we need to make sure that all staff is aware of the policy, the grading policy, that students must have communication with their families that they are failing, or they get a 65. And I'm going to be having more intentional Zooms over the summer, or if we are able to do face-to-face to go over policies, because I feel like we need a refresher, or we need to make sure that everyone is well aware of that expectation, because that's one of the things that we found, that a lot of these students and families were not communicated with. And they have
Hey,
to.
I was just checking out the Odyssey Ware stuff, and it said that you can translate assignment text into different languages, is what
Awesome.
I found on that. So, but it's limited to like 1,000 characters at a time, but you can change it, and it's also good for ELL, because it can
Yes.
help ELL students with translating specific words or that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sear. So, need a motion to approve. Are we ready to move forward? Motion to approve? All right, look at that. Second,
I'll second.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Okay, so, like I said, we have come to the point of our agenda, but are there any public comments? Mr. Miranda, do you have any public comments?
I think you guys are doing a great job. I think also we have parents here that are, involved in the engagement. I think it's awesome to have their input, and the teachers are doing great too.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Miranda.
And thank you for letting me sit in. I appreciate that.
Not a problem. And I'll answer those questions you sent to me tonight and get them back to you, okay?
Awesome. That's great.
Okay. So at this time of our meeting, we're going to have to go into closed session because we're going to talk about budget and staffing. So Mr. Miranda, I'm going to go ahead and exit you out. I know, I'm sorry. So I'll see you later.
For joining us.
So I don't have to
Okay.
put anything down, right?
What?
I don't have to record this part.
No, you just do like a summary